this recording is strictly about the day of UHURU Park, from A to Z. Now, matters concerning the subject at hand, whether before that day or after that day, we are not part of this recording, but will be recorded separately. The oath was drafted hours, if not days, before that day. I mean, before they went to UHURU Park, hours before going there, or even days before going there, it had been drafted. It was drafted by Miguna, and it was read and agreed by Kajwang. You know, these are not documents that you just go to UHURU Park and you are given and you start reading or you start signing. So there was a reading and concurrency. Raila has numerous advisors, legal, political, constitutional, and so on. So these advisors read and agreed with the content. And you see, for you to be the president of Kenya, I'll come to that later, but I'm only talking about what the president of Kenya, the oath that the president of Kenya takes. The Constitution says that for you to be the president of Kenya, you have to swear the following wordings, and it is written there. So those things, those wordings are, you read them as they are. You just go there, what do you call nowadays? Copy paste. You go and take the exact wordings and repeat the exact wordings. That is why, if you remember very well, the chief registrar of the judiciary made sure, you see, for reasons that I do not know, or could we say the reasons of excitement, Rigiji started talking his, you know, Mosa Mathirian. He started talking his Mathirian things, and the chief registrar of the Judicial Service Commission made sure that Rigiji said the exact words that are found in the Constitution. Saying anything, adding or reducing, may amount to the Supreme Court declaring that oath invalid. So it has to be exactly as it is written in the Constitution of Kenya. So this is what I'm putting on, that before UHURU Park, the oath that was prepared was the very same that is there in the Constitution. And it was prepared by Miguna, and Kajwang read it. And when Kajwang read it, he agreed it. And apart from that, the numerous advisors of Raila, I've mentioned them. We have political advisors. We have foreign affairs advisors, because they would want also to advise him on what effect that oath will have on foreign countries. You know, Raila moves, leave alone these things about AUC. Even before the AUC came, Raila moves to different countries and whatever, and he would not want countries going around saying that, declaring him that he should not step in their country. So we have diplomatic advisors, we have the legal advisors, we have constitution advisors, we have political advisors. There are so many. All of them would read and concur with what was written. And I want to say here, I don't want to take sides, but I'll give you all the options. According to the principals, they had agreed with Raila that they had to hide in a safe place. They had to hide in a safe place where, they were being monitored. And if you are monitored, you remember there was a time when Raila was going to take his things to court, and he was passing through Nyayo Stadium. And then a traffic jam was placed along Airdrome Road. What they made a mistake, one day I'll record that. What the security personnel made a mistake was that they did not block him both sides. They blocked him on the front, and he reversed and took the Lusaka Road and rushed to the Supreme Court before midnight. The plan was for him to be blocked so that he reaches the Supreme Court past midnight. So there is always the principles were in a secret place, because for the president to have an oath, the deputy president has also to have taken an oath. Although that one is not very mandatory, the very mandatory is for the president, because it reaches a certain time, if the president has not been sworn in, then we have a constitutional crisis. But we cannot have a constitutional crisis if the president is already there, and for one thing, the deputy is not there. So the principles, and the principles here I mean Kalonzo Musyoka, Wetangula, Musalia Mudavadi were hidden at a safe house. And for security purposes, there was a Nigerian number. There was a Nigerian number which was to give them instructions. Why was the Nigerian number to give them instructions? It was to give them instructions because the last person to arrive at UHURU Park is supposed to be Raila. Then they will start with number 4. I don't know who number 4 is. Number 4 would enter the UHURU Park. And then when he has arrived safely and he has seated, then number 3 would follow, 2 and number 1. Number 1, of course, being the running mate. And then when number 1 has arrived, that is when Rao would now make a grand entry. That is the arrangement. But when they were waiting there, now, depending on whom you trust, because the principal was saying that they were waiting for Raila to tell them to come, and Raila said that they refused to go. Now, if you trust Raila, then they refuse to go. And if you trust the principals, then it is that Raila did not tell them. So Raila arrives at UHURU Park, and here he is. You see, Raila was under immense pressure from his supporters. And if you can, I don't know. I've never doubted Miguna's ability to read and understand law. But he's so militant. He is so militant that a law school would discourage that. You see, for a lawyer advises you how the law says and whatever. And then he lets you. He could tell you, let's go left. And you decide you are going to right. He will follow you to the right because you are giving him instructions. But a lawyer will tell you everything so that you decide what to do. As for Miguna, he tells you everything and he enforces what you have no plan B. You just must follow. He reminds me of court martial, military police. Maybe he would have entered the military and become the director of prosecution in the DOD. I think that is where he fits best. I've never worked with the military, so maybe, but my feelings is that. So they reach there. The oath that is on paper is the oath that have been approved with several people. And if you can see the picture of that day, Miguna is standing there, making sure that the paper that had been written as it appears in the Constitution of Kenya is what was there. But Raila knowing 2 to 3 steps ahead, because Miguna would not be taken for treason. It is Raila who would be taken for treason. So Raila takes a paper that is written what is contained in there, but he says his own things. What does he say in his own thing? I'll not repeat it, but I'll only give 2 examples. 1, in the Constitution, it is written that you swear in as the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces. But what does Raila read? It is written on the draft that way, but Raila knows that if he reads exactly that, he is going to have committed a capital offense, which is he will end up in committee. So he puts in, from his head, he puts in the name People's President of Kenya. People's President of Kenya. Instead of saying the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of Kenya Defense Forces, he said, I, then he mentioned his name and says, bearing true allegiance to Kenya and knowing the high office or the calling of the high office, I swear to be the People's President of Kenya. You can see now the Sungura Mjanja Raila. And the people there do not notice. They cheer. And then I had jumped a space there when he says, I, you have to mention your name. Raila was very clever. If you replay that tape, that recording, you'll find that he says, I, Raila Amolo Odinga. Diga. Ni mshangao, sio? And then Diga ni mtu wa kulima. Raila did not say, I, Raila Amolo Odinga. No. You go and play that tape. He says, I, Raila Amolo Odinga. He was playing this thing that should he be arrested, then he says the person who saw himself in was Odinga. And he would produce his ID and say, look at this. And I'm still telling you for upteenth time. Replay that tape and you'll see. He did not... When people cannot pronounce my name, they call me Kwatenge instead of Kwatenge. And in my language, calling me Kwatenge is an abuse. It says that I'm the widow of Tenge. But Kwatenge means son of Tenge. Now, if you are a Bukusu and you call me Kwatenge, police wataamua. But if you are a non-Luhya and you call me Kwatenge, I understand. So I accept it. Now, I cannot mispronounce my name. So for Raila to mispronounce his name, instead of saying Odinga, he said Odiga. That was deliberate. It is something that he knew that, and in the laws and constitution of Kenya, things have got to be beyond reasonable doubt. So there'll be a doubt. Is it Odinga who saw in or Odiga? So that is when he said that I, Raila Amolo Odinga, knowing the seriousness of the office that I'm taking, do swear that I will... okay, I don't know the exact wordings, but he said, instead of saying the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, do swear that he said People's President. And people were there and they cheered. They didn't see that. Miguna and Kajwang were there and they knew what was happening because they are lawyers. Kama mimi sio lawyer and I noticed that. But you see, what would they do before cameras? You have to act natural, because if you act anything, that is, if you have been a police officer or a member of the security, is that on parade when you make a mistake, you continue naturally that way. Because if you do anything, then the people will notice. So Raila did that, and he signed. Now, of course, later on, whatever he signed and was sealed by Kajwang is what is contained in the Constitution of Kenya. But what happened? Later on, of course, they had to prepare another one that was putting on the names like people's president and whatever. That is what happened. That one. That one is what was happening, so as to avoid you know, he has sworn in and has signed people's president, isn't it? And then when he has signed it, people's president, the paper reads president and commander in chief of. So they later they and even released a press conference of that. Now from there was a problem. There was pressure for him to be arrested, and him of all people, and everybody knew that he could not be convicted. He could not be convicted for treason because it is obvious. But you see, you'll be taken to court, then you are taken to industry area. When you are taken to industry area, by the time the case is over, you have spent a lot of time in industry area, and you have spent a lot of Raila is not getting any younger, and for his age at that time, constant being in court and constant, even if most of these cases are just known. Let me give you just one example. I was on KTN in March 2020 saying that Waiganjo's case is hopeless. He's a police reservist and of the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police. April 2024, 4 years on and 1 month, the judiciary of Kenya came to the same conclusion that I came after 4 years and 1 month. So if Raila was to be taken to industry area for 1 year and whatever, to come up with a decision that was obviously there, then you know what would have affected him health-wise, and him not getting any younger or whatever. So that is what happened, that he was under a lot of pressure on one side by his supporters to do what? To swear himself in and then march from UHURU Park to State House. And you see, if he would have sworn in himself as the president, and marched to UHURU Park, those are two elements of treason. And let me not say what would have happened, but he was clever that he used wordings that were not on the paper, and he even mispronounced his name. That is when he left a legal lacuna. As I said, it is strictly concerning him going to, what happened in UHURU Park, events that happened before or after will be covered in other recordings. Remember, I have no access to him. I have no access to any of these things. But for a person to have been in my position, you can say things that can happen so well that somebody can say that maybe you have breached his security. And that is why at some time in life, the NIS instructed their personnel not to come near me, because I would talk of things that were really happening, and senior NIS people would think that I am getting information from there. So viewers, that is what most probably happened on that day.